3, 2, 1, go! Hello and welcome. Today we're going a little further. It's day 276, so we're going 27.6 kilometers. It's election day here in Denmark, so I'm going to vote. I got my voting slip and I'm going to the local school. Normally we vote at schools or places where there is a large room. I'm not sure I can film, but I'll just try to let the camera roll and then we can anonymize it later if it is. I'm going to see how long the queue is. If it's too long, we'll do it on the way back. I'm sure that at 10:30 there'll be almost no people here. It looks pretty busy, so we'll come back later. So today is election day and let's talk about that. I actually talked about election here in Denmark before, but that was not the same because this time it's for parliament. Last time it was for the local regional elections. We put up these posters all over to show the options for who you can vote for and the different parties. Now in Denmark we have a prime minister, we don't have a president. We have a king. The king doesn't have any actual saying in the laws of the country, but he's still there and has a role to play. In Denmark we have 12 parties trying to get into parliament. They range from the left to the right, red to blue. On the left we have the most socialist parties in the red corner, ranging over the middle to the far right where we have the blue parties. That's how we historically have painted our parties. This is the exact opposite of how it's done in America, where you have the Democrats in blue and the Republicans in red. The liberal parties in Denmark are referred to as blue, while the social parties are red. That's historically how it's done in most of Europe, and that's also how we do it in Denmark. Now some argue that the parties on the very right wing is called black parties, and then in the middle we have one party who's calling themselves purple. It's a mix of blue and red, but that's nuances that might not really be relevant. Now, as I said, there are 12 parties and that varies from election to election. We vote every 4 years and we have a parliament that has 179 seats, which means that the parties are vying for those places. Now, 4 of those seats go to the Faroe Islands and Greenland. They have 2 seats each, so these do not count towards a majority in the parliament as such. Since we have so many parties, no one party can gain a majority in the parliament. Technically they can, but historically we've never seen it. But in order to get the majority of the seats in the parliament, you will need 80 seats, so just a bit more than half. And since it's very hard and unlikely that one party will do that alone, the parties build alliances and form a government based on common grounds. Normally get what is commonly referred to as a red government or a blue government. And that means that the most red parties, they group up and appoint a prime minister among the biggest of the red parties, or the blue parties band up and appoint a prime minister based on who they prefer. And then they form a government assigning ministers based on who are the parties that is creating the current government. Now currently we are in a bit unusual situation where we actually have 3 parties in the middle that have joined together to make a government across the middle, and for the last 4 years one red party and the purple party and one blue party has been in control of parliament. So many decisions and laws are actually made based on negotiation between parties both within and without the actual government. Because even though these three parties have made an agreement to be the government, they may not always agree, and then a proposition can be agreed upon with votes from outside the government. And just to make sure we understand the distinction between parliament and government, parliament is all the people, all the 179 sitting in parliament. All of these people have the right to vote for any proposition. The government are those parties who band together to become the majority of the parliament. And because they have the majority, they can vote in propositions without needing others to vote for it. Now, as I said, they may not agree on all points, so sometimes they will need to get votes from other parts of parliament because, yeah, democratic process. So currently we have Mette Frederiksen, who is the Prime Minister of Denmark. She's been sitting for a long time, would some say, and that's not a problem in Denmark. In Denmark, you can be the Prime Minister for as long as people are voting for you. In countries like USA, you have a president with a lot more power than the Prime Minister of Denmark has. So that's why it may become an issue that a president is sitting on the power for too long, because he can make changes that might interfere with the democratic process. In Denmark, the Prime Minister does not have all that much power. She doesn't hold more power than any other parliament member, because she only has one vote and no special rights. Also, we have so many parties that normally the government doesn't last that long. There is often a change in Prime Minister simply based on the red and blue shift in politics and so on. So Mette Frederiksen is Prime Minister. There are a couple of other people who'd like to be Prime Minister. She's the only one among the red parties that is assigned as a candidate for Prime Minister, while the blue side has a bit more people. It's still a bit unclear on who they will actually vote for if they get the majority of parliament, and that's one of the things that might create a bit of disturbance on the blue side. Now, I'm trying to remain objective during this talk about election and government and so on, but I hope that so far you haven't guessed where I'm voting, but you're more than welcome to guess where I'm setting my cross on the ballot. So back to the posters. What are they all about? Well, these are all the people who want to get into parliament. As you can see, Mads Strange and Alan Feld, they really want to get into parliament. When you get your ballot, you can either vote for those 12 parties we talked about earlier, or you can vote for one of the people representing those parties. So if you give a single person a vote, there's a bigger chance that they will be elected for parliament. If you only vote for the party, they will decide which people from the party will get those seats in parliament. As I said, there are 179 seats. So if you get 10% of all the votes, you get 18 seats. This is not accurate, but more or less. Now, of those 18 people, some might have a lot of votes, personal votes, and then they will get one of those 18 seats. If you want a single person to be in parliament representing you, you should give a personal vote to that person. Now, the funny thing is that the list is not the same all over the country. So the current Prime Minister, I can't actually vote for her because she's running in another district. So the ballots are not the same all over the country. People are on the ballots where they expect to get most votes. So the current Prime Minister is actually not available for me to vote for. She's in another district, but she's running where she thinks she can get the most votes. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, I think it is, the ballots close and you can't vote anymore. And that's when all the votes are collected, they are sent to counting, and then we sit in front of the TV all night and watch the results. Some actually throw parties and follow it very intensely. But one thing is for sure, we don't really know what's going to happen. There are exit polls and people have predictions, but this year it's not very clear what's actually going to be the result. Is it going to be a red or a blue government? Is it going to be a government across the middle once again, as we just had? We don't really know, but what I know is that soon I'll be casting my vote, and I will let you see as much as possible if I'm allowed to film. But let's hope the queue is a bit smaller. I'm pretty sure it will be, because a lot vote on the way to work or coming home. I'm not going to wait till 4 o'clock. Then there will be a long line of people who are going to vote. And the flags are out because it's election day. So let's take a break from running. And that was it. We've now fulfilled our democratic duty and voted. So now it's just home. We're almost done for today. We're at 26 kilometers. So just a bit more and we're done. But if you haven't voted and you are in Denmark, make sure to get it done. You are of course free to do whatever you like, but I think the democratic process works best if all get a say. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little wrap up of the Danish election system, and you got to see how we do it here in Denmark. And with that, I'll finish the video, and I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, and then I'll see you tomorrow for 27.7 kilometers. Bye. And that's it, 27.6 kilometers.